Hey everybody, welcome to Art of the Game. We're back with another episode with three game masters, experienced game masters in various games, giving tips on different GM topics. So Woody is the one that came up with the idea originally for this. So Woody, what is the episode? What are we covering today?
We were talking about group size, how many players that you should have at your table. The obvious answer is the maximum number you can handle, but there's more.
That's
more
what she
to
said.
Sorry.
Sorry.
But there's really more to it than that, because there are a few aspects to not just having them but also maintaining, because you always have to be thinking in terms of recruitment of new players, because you could also have a situation where you lose one, no big deal, lose another one, no big deal, suddenly you only have three people, you lose one more player, now you only got two, you almost don't have enough to play the game. All of a sudden one person ducks out, you have nothing. So you always have to keep your eye on keeping what you consider your optimum number, and then constantly building up to keep it there. But what is an optimum number? And it's going to be a different answer for everybody, but the more people you have, it dramatically changes what the game is and how you run things. And the fewer you have, the same. So take away, guys. What anybody got some opinions there?
Four.
The Fantastic Four. It works for them.
You're gonna have to do a little more than that, Greg. We're having a discussion show.
Yeah. 4, but if you can't do 4, do 3, and if you can't do 3, do 5. And I don't know that we were just talking about before. That's for me personally. I tend to be a little bit slower in things like combat than others, and so because of that, I don't want to take too long between people's turns and rounds and stuff like that. And so that's a big limiting factor for me. Also, I think the less people you have, the more engaged you can get every player. It's easier to get every player engaged. Let's put it that way, right? So that's kind of my reasoning for 4.
Yeah, I think, well, to allude to what you were saying earlier too, Woody, like the problem that occurs when we lose people, I think that's why we're seeing a growth in solo RPGs and
so if you lose everyone, you can just play by yourself.
Yeah. And you're not crying at all because all your friends are gone. No,
it's called Masturbation 5e.
Oh, dude.
Oh, that's the wrong game master.
Okay, remember, you have to wait until a certain amount of time in the episode before you can say stuff like that. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, I didn't cuss. Yeah.
You got to work the algorithm.
But I would say from playing genre play quite a bit now, like we've been doing it like a year, right, or so. So recording at least. I would say 4 players is a really good number. I think. I think 3 is fine too if they're all very active, and then I think 5 or 6 would be my max of players to do. By then, we get beyond that, it starts getting chaotic.
But if you have a GM that's very good at going, what do you do? You don't know? Skipped. What do you do?
Yeah.
Right?
You almost have to, right? At that point.
If you have a guy who's really good at that and is good at coming back and people get upset with him and stuff like that, then you can have a lot more players, whatever.
For me, my maximum is 6, but I think 5 is the most ideal number. But like the thing that I think that GMs have to keep in mind, I mean, you guys have kind of touched on a little bit, is that like you have to kind of think in terms of how much progress that you're going to have in the game, because when you're figuring out what your game plan is, you have to have enough material, or at least enough improv capability to handle up to a certain point of material, right? And it kind of blew my mind that I could run a 12-hour session at one point when I was a kid, and I'm thinking, like, why would I ever do that? It's nuts. But and being able to keep it going to that extent. But like, if you look at how much you can get, let's say like you look at games in like 2-hour blocks, right? And how much can you get done in 2 hours, right? So if you have 2 players, they are going to get a million things done. But every single person that you add to it adds another voice to the chaotic democracy of it. And so for each other player that you have at the table, it reduces the amount that you're going to accomplish in that time, right? And people are all going to want to do a different thing. So it's like the more people you have at the table, the better the control skills of the game master have to be. Like, as you were just talking about, Greg, but it's not just a matter of skipping you. It's like you have to get that person to take their turn and keep everybody engaged. and you have to be able to be aware of, like, some people like to just sit back and be smart and not say anything, and they kind of speak up when they need to. I have a guy that does that, and other people are going to be like, want to be the loudest voice at the table, and you have to be able to shut them down and let other people speak, right? And you have to, your ability to control the group really sets how many people you can have at your table. And and it also, how many people also determines how long the fights take. And again, you have to be able to keep everybody moving and keep it going quickly so that it doesn't bog down. And it absolutely could if you don't run it well. And so, like,
and if someone doesn't know what to do on their turn for that kind of thing, I just suggest being like, you know what, just speak up when you want to go, when you know what you want to do.
You can do that,
because we'll just take it as their turn came around, something happened, they didn't know what to do. Well, that's what just happened in real and the combat. So now your character's going, oh shit, and just tell me when you got it.
Well, one of the things that players, I think, also run into is some people can have like a decision stasis or whatever you want to call it, where there's too many choices and they can't make up their mind. And you will find that you can resolve this very quickly by always keeping decisions binary. Like if you have three choices, three outcomes on a choice, unless it's like picking doors, right? Like people could very well be trapped in a decision and uncertain what to do. But if every choice is one or two, A or B, Y or Z or whatever it is, like it's very easy to get people to pick something and go. And whenever I have that situation, I'm like, okay, well, you can do this, or you can do this. Like, they obviously can suggest their own things, but I usually will phrase like when I call on somebody, I phrase it usually in, these are the options that I see for you, and I, based on the situation you're in, there's a guy coming at you. You're gonna duck, you're gonna block. If you put it like that, you can almost train people into acting quickly. But it's I find it very successful that way.
It also depends on the players themselves. Because if you have a couple of players that are very much the type of people that just want to act and they just want to get things done, and they're not going to sit there and overthink things, that actually helps a lot. Like, I know DMs like me a lot, usually GMs like me a lot, usually, because I'll just do something. If we end up discussing things for a while, I'm like, nah, what are we doing? And then I'll just go do things. And half the time it'll be idiotic, but that's fine. At least it moves it forward. But sometimes you need someone like that, because it helps a lot. And if you have a group of quite a few people are like that, and they're easygoing, they'll just go with whatever. You could probably easily have 6 people, because they move forward quickly and they're not going to have those issues.
It also helps to have somebody at the table that's assertive and is inclined to propose decisions. And, on my Saturday group, we lost that guy. And so now I've got 4 guys at the table that kind of like want to just go with the flow. And then I have to force them to be assertive sometimes,
Yeah, usually when I'm a player, a lot of times I just kind of be quiet, but then if I see it kind of derailing or people getting stuck, I'm like, let's do this, do that, do that.
Yeah.
So, but as a GM, I try to, when I see a player get stuck, I either do like what you said, Greg, say, just, think about it until the end of the turn. You got up till then to decide. You can hold. Or I will, it seems pretty obvious to me what 1 or 2 decisions could be, especially if they're a new player, and maybe they're just not used to the build of the character. I might suggest something like, oh, your character might want to do this, rage and smash him with the head or something.
well, there are times when you have to make those suggestions to people, because like the GM's job is to keep the game moving. Like you have to keep it rolling. You don't want those dead points, right? And so in order to accomplish that, you do sometimes have to suggest courses of action, because you got to get people, motivated. And some players do need that push.
Yeah. The only other thing I would mention is sometimes the game system itself can determine a good player number. One of the things I really like, Daggerheart is the biggest love-hate relationship I have. I think it is one of the most unique and interesting games, and there's things I just don't like about it. But the one thing that is interesting with it is they have no initiative. So they just call passing the spotlight. And everyone just goes when they think their character has something to do. And it makes everyone pay attention to the combat, even if it's not their turn. So like, should I inject here? Should I inject here? And it actually keeps people engaged in the combat way more than a traditional your turn, your turn, your turn. It's really weird. Every time I explain it, someone who's never played it is like, that doesn't work. And then when you play it, you're like, that was weird. But It's just interesting. And by the way, every time a player goes, it potentially gives an enemy one of the enemies to a turn to go as well. So it's interesting how it works, how it ends up going back and forth a little bit.
The first time,
because of that, you have to have an abacus. I don't know what my abacus is, just to keep track of like who's done what and how many times and stuff. It has pros and cons.
The first time I played Monster of the Week, I read in the book there's no initiative, just whatever. And then we played. I thought, well, that's not going to work. And then we played, and I just went with it. And after the game session, like, oh yeah, we didn't have any initiative. I didn't even notice it was gone. Yeah. And now they get around it by having the enemies act in the same action and stuff, so they're always getting a turn, right? But so you don't have to do the keep track.
That's why I call it Daggerheart rules light out of combat and rules heavy in combat, because in order to make that work, you do have extra rules to guide it and stuff.
Gamers in the RPG space, they are very big on their traditions, and they can be very superstitious, and it's like things have always been done this way, so we have to do it. And the idea of getting rid of initiative, you were just saying this, and I'm just sitting back going,
all the
I don't
problems.
know if I like that.
How dare you, blasphemer?
Yeah, exactly. But it was just but it's because we've always done it that way, and but it also
it's really
works.
weird.
Yeah,
when you play it, it's really weird because you always have those people that don't speak up. Like, I think you're probably talking about Chaz, where he doesn't speak up a lot. When he does, it's usually really smart.
No, I was actually, Chaz actually hasn't been that much of a problem when he plays at my table. On that regard, like he actually, but I'm also big about calling on everybody I can. But there's specific people that you've never met that I'm thinking of. But
anyways, that some people don't speak up as much, and you think it might be a problem with someone where it's all about taking initiative verbally in order to go. And it really doesn't, because after a while, you're just like, well, you've gone a while. What do you want to do? You haven't gone in a while.
Well, we have this one player. I will not say his name, but he knows if he listens to this, he will know. But he's the guy that's always sitting back there quiet. He's always got his, doing this all the time, and he's sitting there listening. and it turns out that he doesn't say much, but he is more on top of it than anyone else at the table, and usually has a better command of people's class features than they do. So it's like he's always one going, you can do this, you should do this, and they're like, oh shit, why didn't I think of that? Always doing that. But he's paying very close attention, and then when he speaks up, sometimes he hardly says anything for the night, but whenever he says something, it's usually very intelligent and correct.
Nice.
So we have one of those. So
but to tie back to the point I was making is with Daggerheart, if you have something like that where it keeps people engaged because of the game system, I think it actually leans itself to be a bit better to have more players in that because of that.
Yeah, there was one that I heard about. I've never tried this, but everybody gets a token. And it's one of those things that only works, I think, you're at the table. But the idea is your initiative is when you throw your token down, and that's when you get to take your turn.
Daggerheart has that as an optional rule. You get 3 tokens, and you don't get them back until everyone's spent their tokens.
Exactly, and so it works very much like that. So, and I don't know how they handled it for the GM, but at the end of the round, everybody gets their tokens back, and that's how they determine turn order. And it's I don't know. See, that's the thing about that though is I like having initiative abilities where you can have abilities that make you go first, like, oh, I may add proficiency to initiative, or I get to roll twice, take the higher number, or whatever this trick is. And I like having those things, and I don't know how you make that work with, those other things, those other techniques. So obviously there'd be something to work out there. But
Daggerheart has a way, which is because whenever you go, it's a 50-50 chance that you're going to give the enemy, more than 50-50 chance that you're going to give the enemy a turn when you go.
Yeah.
So there are, I believe, abilities that let you get a free action that does not give the enemy an ability to go even if you fail or something like that.
Yeah, or the enemy can't go after you. They only can go after another player.
Yeah, stuff like that. So they have a little bit, but I get your point, is that you are basically taking away a mechanic when you do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like from a game design standpoint, every time you add a game mechanic like that, it adds you more to work with in terms of character class features and special abilities. And so there is like a minimum amount of depth a game needs to be vibrant and have enough to carry you forward. And so you do need those game mechanics. You can't you cannot go so rules light that there's nothing for the game to be. So, and
well, I still like skills. I wish Daggerheart had skills. But
Yeah.
that's just me.
Shadow Dark doesn't either.
So Mark, you're always looking for short episodes. We do have it, and we've gone on to other tangents.
Yeah.
I mean,
so are you saying shorter is better?
You should put a thumbnail of initiative fixed.
Well, I don't think that this is necessarily a long subject. I mean, like, we basically covered the basic rules of it. Like, as a GM, if you need to figure out how many players you can handle, you just have to throw some on the table and see where you're at. Like the more proficient you are, the more larger group that you can handle.
Probably,
but,
and I think all of you alluded to this too. The more tactical combat wise it is, and more complicated tactics are, probably the more burdensome it is with the more people, right? So
and again, it raises the bar on how good you have to be able in handling the game, right? And so it's like you're going to figure out pretty quickly what your limit is. I think as a GM, and then as you get better, maybe you can have more or not. But the sweet spot does seem to be 4 or 5 players. For a lot of game masters, so I'm even
okay with 3. But,
and there's a lot of people that can handle 6, but they don't want to. Like for me, I think right these days I'm just going with 5. I know I can handle more, but I actually like to leave one spot open in case like we do get an extra player that wants to jump in. Like I like leaving that opening for just the possibility that or bringing in a guest. And have somebody who wants to sit in for a night, and we have that room for them to do that.
Yeah, so it's always nice.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, well, so everybody in the comments, why don't you tell us how many players you normally have, or how many is too many for you to handle in a game, and how you, since we talked about initiative, how you handle initiative. Why not?
But you want something bizarre? The guy that made this game claims that he likes to have 16 players at the table.
I don't believe it.
I don't know how you can do that. Like, dude, how is that even possible?
Especially Rifts is not a rules light game. I mean,
he was doing that with AD&D.
I don't know.
I know.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah. I have no idea how he can do that and keep everybody having a good time. Like,
he's one of those people that has 12 kids, and you're like, how are you sane?
I mean, it's like trying to play Magic with 10 people at the table. It's like
you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. It's very hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget, leave a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We have lots of episodes of this and other tabletop RPG related stuff on the channel. So, and that'll be it for today. So until next time. Bye.
Peace.
Cue the theme song.
When the dice roll high, we touch the sky.